everybody, it's Tiara James. Welcome to another episode of the Tiara Tales. And in this episode, I'll be telling you about my horrendous trip on the Greyhound bus from New York City to Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm not sure why I can never tell you guys like a positive story. It's because these really just freak accidents always just happen to me. I don't know why, but let's get started. So where do we start with this interesting, to say the least, trip on the Greyhound bus? I have a list because it was so much. So about a week ago, I made up my mind to come back home for the summer. I understand, why would I leave the most poppin' city in the world to come back to Florence, Kentucky in the summer? You know, you have the best clubs, the best men, best city scene, and then at home you have no men, the worst city scene, and no club. I understand, but here you also have clean air, peace and quiet, and I have friends. I was just feeling a little lonely in the city, so I made the decision to come home. So I booked my tickets the same day that I was leaving. I guess I overestimated how much time I had from 3 to 10:15, and I ended up rushing over to Port Authority, which is in Times Square, all the way from Brooklyn. If you live in New York, you know that that takes about 35 minutes to get all the way up to the middle of Manhattan. That day, it was about 80 degrees outside, out of nowhere. By the time I got to Port Authority, I was sweating, I was out of breath, and not to mention, I was mad because I had to pay for my overweight bag. I can understand what weight has to do with anything if I was on a plane, but I'm on the ground. I'm on a bus. Why do I need to pay for an overweight bag? I mean, at that point I didn't care. I was like, I don't care, I just put my check in the bank, I got money, blah, blah, blah. Little did I know that I would later regret every dime I ever gave to Greyhound. I ended up getting to my gate about 3 minutes before the departure time, but luckily for me, buses ran on such a not on time schedule. I don't know how else to say that. We ended up leaving 45 minutes later than what we were supposed to. So we left at like 11 o'clock. We were supposed to leave at 10:15. So, you know, we pull off from Port Authority. Everything's going smooth, like real smooth. We had a clean bus. It was air conditioned, leather seats. So we had a good bus, good company. Everybody was like talking, joking. The man next to me, he even offered me some of his Indian food, and I said no. About 3 hours into this trip, in the mountains of Pennsylvania, and we start slowing down, and eventually we're on the side of the road. I was like, and at the first stop, it's pitch black outside, okay? No street lights, in the middle of the mountains, no service. And this man gets off the bus. I just wanted to know where he was going. And now that I think about it, he probably got to his destination before I did on foot. So the first time we stopped, we let him go. I'm not sure where he went. Don't ask me. They never told us. Our bus driver didn't even tell us what was going on. We kept driving, and eventually we pulled over into a gas station, and they told us that some belt broke on the bus. I'm like, a belt? Whoa. Don't you guys inspect these things before we leave? I mean, I understand. Stuff goes wrong. Our bus driver, he was like, okay, it's gonna be about 30 minutes for them to come fix whatever they have to fix. We're sitting in the middle of Pennsylvania for 3 hours. It's hot. They turn the bus off. Mosquitoes are coming inside. I'm getting eaten alive. Strangers are sleeping, snoring with their mouths open, and it's just humid on the bus. So finally I got off the bus. I made a new friend. We started playing with the rocks outside of the gas station, seeing how far we can throw them, you know, just to pass time. Finally, a few hours later, help came. At this point, it's about 5 o'clock in the morning. Everybody gets back on the bus. We're driving, everything's good. We're like, yeah, we're gonna be just a few hours late. I'm gonna be home before 5. And then we get to Cleveland. Was the worst. Everyone had to get rerouted. I get in line and they tell me that my bus is not leaving until 7:30 at night. It's 9:30 in the morning. What am I gonna do for 10 hours? I refused. to leave at 7:30 because I was supposed to be in Cincinnati at 1:25 p.m. I might have cussed everyone out. I really blew up on everybody. I told the security to stop touching me because his breath smelled like coffee. And then finally I pulled myself out of line and I ended up going to get some food with my new friend. I calmed down and then we went back to the bus station. I asked another woman, I was like, I need to see if I can get on this next bus out to Athens, Ohio because I just need to get closer than 4 hours away from home. She looked at my ticket and she was like, well, you leave at 2:30. You get home at 7:30. At that point, I had to apologize to everyone, security, all the workers, and the manager. It's just, if you knew your information, I wouldn't have cussed you out. The second bus was disgusting. It had cloth seats. The air conditioning was humid. And it smelled like someone was either in the bathroom for 2 hours or giving birth in the back of the bus. I don't know which one it was. It was kind of a mix of both. Our next stop is an hour away from home. It can't take that long. We get to Columbus, everything's going good. They're like, okay, your layover is only 30 minutes. I really believed that this was gonna be a smooth transition. As we were boarding to get back on the bus to finally go to Cincinnati, the bus snapped. Whatever links the tires together, snapped. So the bus shifted all the way to this side. They were like, everybody get off. Oh my gosh, I was in such disbelief. They delayed us for another 3 hours. After the 3 hours was up, they come to us and they're like, well, your bus driver, he ran away.
Bruh. I don't give a fuck.
I just want to go home.
What? That was just a straw on the camel's back. He quit. Well, where did he go and how did he get there? At that point, I was on the phone with Greyhound customer service, demanding a full refund on my non-refundable ticket. I was delayed 10 hours past the time that I was supposed to get to Cincinnati. I just didn't understand how they thought that was acceptable. And give me my $40 back for my overweight bag. And not to mention this other man, he came from a different bus. He was like, yeah, the bus I was on before burst into flames. By the time the police department got there, it was burnt to a crisp. I would be embarrassed if this was my company. I don't understand how they're still in business. I've never stepped foot on a bus until then, but I can tell you I will never do it again. However, I did meet some really sweet people. I met a nun who works at a Catholic school in Cincinnati. I met Saleh. Well, he lives in Brooklyn, so I'll see him when I get back to Brooklyn. And I met Antoine, who is a costume designer, which is perfect for me because I'm a fashion business major. It's always good to network wherever you are. Anyways, that's my story about the worst Greyhound trip that I've ever taken. My first and my last. From now on, if it's not my own road trip, I'm flying. But what can you expect next week? Next week, I'm once again not sure. But make sure you subscribe to find out. Until then, thanks for watching.
They gonna run back to me. They always wanna come, but they never wanna leave.